Welcome everyone. Today I wanted to walk you through a project that I've recently completed, wherein I've requested Uber for my trips data till date. It contains data, as you can see, from 2015 till 22, and I wanted to create a dashboard out of it, do some analysis, look at how my cost, the fair amount is for the distance I've covered, and the number of trips that I've taken. So those are my three important KPIs. And what I'm trying to do is basically I want to create a table, as well as at the same time I want to show a trend. And that is why I'm going with this visualization right here, because it exactly showcases that. Now the issue that I noticed the issue that I noticed just now is that 1970 is coming. So what is basically happening, Uber tags all the cancelled trips into 1970, so they don't categorize the year. So that is a big problem for me, because it restricts the analysis that is going to happen as well, as to how much impact COVID has caused on the cancelled or unfulfilled trips. So that is now out of the picture because of how Uber saves the data. But moving ahead, I'll just filter that data, and I'll look at the trend from 2015 to 22. And 2016 is not here because it could be that in that year I was not using Uber, I was using some other app. So that is the reason why we don't have that 1 year's data. At the very bottom you can see grand total. Those are my aggregated numbers, and right now what I'm going through is I'm just looking at various ways I can represent this. So like next I'll I've moved it at the very top, but I'm still not happy with this table because of the size of the bar. So if you see the total for the number of trips, 244, the trip 102 in 2019 is my highest that I've taken, but the trend is underwhelmed because of the total that is happening. So right now I'm just playing with colors, but next you'll see later in this video I'll definitely change that. I'll remove the total bar and I'll represent it separately in other sheet. So that was my table. Next I'll move to what kind of product I'm using. So Uber gives various services, so I'll remove again the cancelled information. I'll filter that out. Next I notice that Uber doesn't save the product types properly as well. So Uber Go should be a single category, and similarly premium, pool and Uber X, all these things should be grouped properly. So what I'm doing is I'm created a group, and this is once that is done, I'm thinking of a better visualization, because bar chart is not a proper visualization for this, since more than 95% of the trips are Uber Go. So that is taking all the space, and rest are like barely visible. So we need equal partitions for each product type, and that is what my goal is over here, to represent each product as a separate equal entity. So once I'm happy with the with this sorting with the product types, I'll move on to the next thing, and in the later part of the video I'll categorize it as shapes. So I'll download various shapes and I'll use that. So right now I'm looking at how trips are categorized. So you can see almost 88% are completed trips, and the rest are cancelled by me or by driver, or unfulfilled ones. So unfulfilled is very less, around 1% only. So I'm thinking of a better way to represent this as well. What I wanted was a single bar to represent this, but as you'll see later, I'll change this as well. The reason for that is I wanted it to consume less space, and the first thing that you'll see that comes to mind is a simple pie chart. That would be the best representation over here as well, but I wanted to do something different for now, but later I changed my mind to pie chart only. Now I've created a dashboard, and this dashboard is not the final dashboard that I see. This is just a place where I'm putting all the sheets that I've created till now, so that I can see how they look and feel, and the story or the flow of the dashboard is as per my need. So I've created 3 sheets and I've put them all together. I'm just thinking like what should be the order of things and how the filter should flow. So if I click on year, the rest of the 2 sheets should update accordingly. Again, after doing a bit of formatting, color changes, all those things, I'm again going back. So that bar format I didn't like it, because most of it was covered, and now I've gone to the pie chart, and since 88% is completed, that is not primarily the focus of that visualization. What I want to actually focus is the rest of the percentage of cancelled and unfulfilled. So I have color coded that, and I've left the 88% as white only. And like I previously mentioned, those KPIs in the first tabular format, the totals were not coming properly. They were like hiding the overall trend of the bars. So I'm separating in different sheets. First I've gone into 3 different sheets, then I realized that I can do it with using measure names and measure values in a single sheet. So I'll do that. I'm just formatting how the KPI should look. So in the data, the information of distance traveled was in miles. I have created a calculation to convert that into kilometers. Once I do that, I'll put those sheet over here in the dashboard at the very top, and I'll just do a quick bit of formatting again to see how they look. What I'm trying to replicate over here is an illusion that the sheets above and the tabular sheet in the middle are a single visualization, so that the end user does not feel like they are looking at 2 separate things. Next, I've downloaded some logos for my various products, and these are very similar to how Uber actually represents them. Not exactly the same logos, but almost same. So you can see Uber Premium or Uber Auto has a different logo, and this looks well for our visualization purpose. So because a person does not even have to know the name of the product, they can just see at the logo that it is an auto, and it would refer to Uber Auto only. And it would be a very good filter as well. So you click on what you see. So if you want to see how much trips I've taken in pool, you can click on the pool option, and it will directly filter everything. So it works like very nice. It gives a very nice visual cue to the end user. Again, tinkering with some KPIs just to see how they look and feel. So over here I'm creating some calculations which you might not be able to see, but I'll give the link of this dashboard in the description, so you can download it and actually edit and see all the calculations. So while screen recording, the screen capture didn't capture the calculation part of things. They only captured the background Tableau application. So I'll keep that in mind for the next time. But over here what I'm doing is I have the begin time and the end time of a trip, right? So what I'm trying to do, and the request time as well. So what I'm trying to do is I have 2 important KPIs. First is wait time. So from my requested time till my begin trip time, how much time did I wait? So that is my wait time. And my trip duration is from begin time till end time. So that is how I've calculated these 2 things, and the average of these would make sense in the overall picture. And you can also, if you are like following along in this project or you're replicating this, it would be best that you calculate the weighted average. That is something like I'm thinking now would make more sense. Over here again I'm doing the measure names and measure values to replicate my KPIs. I'll do a bit of editing of the labels as the number of trips, distance traveled, Also, I didn't like the how it says fair amount INR. That is not how Uber represent is. So I in the background I do have like how Uber follows like their visualization and their UI. So I'm trying to replicate that so that it fits in the overall picture, right? So Uber uses the rupee symbol, and the later part in the video I'll also change the INR with that. So once I'm done with the KPI, I'll move to formatting it, resizing it, just to make sure that it fits in the dashboard like I want to. There are two layers of KPIs that I'm showing. So first is this one that you see, the trips, distance traveled, and fair amount. These are my top level ones, the ones that I want to bring your attention to at the very first thing that you notice in the dashboard. And the second one is the more calculated ones that that are like average wait time, average trip duration, or average cost. So those are my average KPIs that I've calculated using the dataset. So those were not completely visible, and they are not just aggregates out of it. So those are like the secondary KPIs that I'll show later. So I'll calculate. I've already like created the calculations. I'll just replicate the first part again so that I can create those. Now again, moving to the flow, I'm thinking that the product type should be, since it's a filter, it should be at the top or at least in the middle. I am playing around with various positions, and the reason is I want to see what best suits my dashboard. And I'm thinking continuously from the end user's perspective, how intuitive would it be for them to click somewhere and see that the changes are happening. So I'll give a visual cue that you can click on things and the filters will automatically be applied, and I want this to be there. I want this behavior to be very intuitive, so this can be a very self-service self-serving analytics dashboard. These like I mentioned again, these are my secondary KPIs: the average wait time, the average trip duration, all those. So their size is very less compared to the major ones. Those are the first things that you'll notice in the dashboard, and then once you understand those KPIs and once you understand what the data is saying, then you'll move on to the secondary KPIs, which will make more sense to you. And I'm playing around with their with how with their positioning, and the reason for that is I've removed the headers from the table. If you see the bar chart, the horizontal bar chart tabular, I've removed the headers from those, and the reason is it would be repetitive. The headers would be repetitive since the KPIs already show that. So overall trips is 244, and the horizontal bar chart just below it also represents the overall trips, but for a particular year only. So that is intuitive, and it doesn't require a repetitive label. Next, what I'm trying to do is use shapes and create a backdrop for these logos, just so that I can create a pop-up. And this is something that I have time to do. So I'm trying to experiment with things and see how best these logos will look. Later in the video, I'll actually remove this and go back to the earlier version itself, because Uber doesn't highlight their logos like this. So when I'm trying to replicate Uber's UI, it would make more sense to keep them very simple, and the background should be white and the logos should be black. That is how Uber does that. So that is why I'll move back to the previous version. But in your case, it is your preference. It is called branding actually, in which we take a customer's request, we see how their current reporting is done, or how current theme is, website is, when we embed the dashboard, and we follow that. Next, I'm trying to replicate what the routes I've taken and what are the common routes there are. So you can see I've added city as a filter because I've gone to 4 states So and Uber actually represents a city using a code. So this could be their key to a separate dashboard, a location dashboard from where they would join the data and bring information. But for us, since I already know where I went, it was easier for me to just edit the alias for these cities as as the location they are, and easily represent them. So in the map layers, I am removing a lot of things because those are unnecessary details which will hinder things for me, and I've like reduced the opacity of the backdrop and highlighted the routes with dark black color, to follow a similar thing that Uber does when we are booking a cab. The map should feel like that only. Important things are highlighted, and over here I'm changing filters to see how the different city routes are and editing their aliases on the go. So you can see all the 4 states, and again a 5th one is coming over here, but that is because those trips are cancelled and Uber doesn't tag the city information for that properly. So that is a pattern that I've noticed, that the cancelled trips information is not stored properly. So do any analysis out of it would be a bit difficult, because I would really question the integrity of the data that is coming in. And so for most of the analysis, I had filtered out the cancelled trips data. And in the pie chart as well, you'll see that 9% of the trips are tagged as cancelled, and only 2% trips are tagged as driver cancelled, which to me is very incorrect. Next, I've taken some screenshots so that I can replicate the UI of Uber, and this is just a screenshot on a second dashboard, and I'll create a navigation button at the very top to move back to my dashboard. And this is purely so that I can create a video demo, which you'll see at the very end, to create an impression that this fits into the Uber ecosystem, into the Uber app that already exists, and they don't have to do anything out of their way to replicate this solution. So this is the first hamburger menu opens this side menu, and from here you'll just get an option of analytics. So I'm just creating that button to do that, and once that is done, I'll also make sure the font and everything fits properly, right, so that it doesn't look out of place. But yeah, once I'm happy with it, I'm just looking at the font because the font looks weird right now. There are a lot of options, and I'm not sure which font Uber uses. I was not able to find that, so I've guessed it to the very closest I could. And yeah, so this is like a custom navigation button that I've created, and this analytics will like drop to my dashboard once I click on it. And you've seen that I've changed the layout to phone layout because I don't want anyone to open this dashboard in a browser. I mean, they will be able to, and Tableau will actually does that. They automatically update the dashboard according to which platform you're opening it in, but primarily I want the end user to open it in a mobile phone, just like they do Uber app. So after a bit of layout formatting, what I'm right now doing is I'm seeing how much the spacing should be, because everything feels a lot congested right now, if you see. And this button that you just see right now is basically, I want just like in a normal Uber app, if you click at the side of the side menu, it goes back to the actual menu. So I wanted to get that functionality as well. I have reduced the size so that it fits better. Again, I'm working with the flow continuously to see what best fits. So map, I've kept it at the very top so that it feels like an Uber app. So when you open Uber, the first thing that you see is that big giant map that they have created, and at the bottom you get the options to select the cab and the location and destination, all those things. So that is what I was trying to replicate, but at the later stage you'll see that I realize the KPIs are more important than the map. The map is not delivering as much information as I want, and it is taking more real estate, so I'll just drop it down a bit and move the KPIs at the very top. Also, right now you can see that the average KPIs, the secondary KPIs that are highlighted in gray right now, are at above the main KPIs, which is also something that I do not want. I'm just working on the formatting as of now, and later I'll move that at the bottom as well so that it feels like the flow of the dashboard is correct. And you can actually see how much work goes into formatting this, because the speed is I think it is at 4x, so it took a lot of time to do a lot of formatting and each sheet on each tab. And the colors of the KPIs match the colors of the bar chart, so that it becomes very intuitive that I'm in both the visualization I'm talking about the same thing. So it is very, the color makes sense to me. And right now I have not put much thought on the colors, so you can see it's red, yellow and green. Green works a bit because we are talking about money, and the first thing that comes to our mind is like the green color, but red and yellow or red and amber is definitely something that I'll be changing next, because those colors are not something that clicks automatically, and rather red brings a negative image or something that is negatively highlighted, and the overall over here none of the KPIs are like that, so I'll change the colors later. So in the pie chart, you can see I've highlighted the 2%. Right now I'm thinking how I can best visualize this to give my thought on how Uber is tagging these cancelled trips, because 9% versus 2% is a big difference, and they are tagging all the trips as cancelled. And this problem of when we book a cab and the driver refuses and tells us to cancel the cab, that is not being taken into account anywhere. So the data will reflect that I was the one who cancelled most of the cabs, but it is something that there should be a better way to represent that in the data itself, so that it brings the correct picture. And actually from this data, my learning is that if the driver asks me next time to cancel the cab, I would actually tell them to cancel it from their end, so that now that I know in the backend how Uber is saving it, they can actually get the correct numbers and think of a solution for that problem. So I'm constantly thinking, the size of the screen of my phone, how much would it be able to fit in a single swipe. So that is something that while I was spacing things out, I was continuously thinking about. These labels are very huge. I don't want these labels to appear in the pie chart, so I'll change them as well. And right now I'm creating and converting this pie chart into a donut chart, because that space in the middle, I don't want, ideally donut chart is used so that you can give a very important percentage right in the middle, so that it's very easy. But over here, the reason why I switched to donut chart was because it felt a bit congested and I needed some space, and a donut chart creates that illusion that there is space in middle and at the right and left side as well. And it will become very clear when I add that comment that is at the bottom right now to the right side. I'll shift that to the right, so that in a single view you'll know that this comment is related to this pie chart. And yeah, so right now you can see I've shifted it to the right, and now that space of the donut in the middle helps visually. If you'll replace it with the pie chart, you'll feel like it is a bit congested. I also added my initials at the very bottom, but later I removed it, and the reason for that was again thinking that if I think of it just as a simple dashboard, I'll definitely add my initials. But considering this project was not just another dashboard, it was more of a embedded dashboard, and in those like the initials and nothing comes. So in an app, you will never see who created this app at the very bottom. So that is the reason why I've gone with the theme and removed that as well. So over here I'm changing a bit of how I've paraphrased the comments, and the secondary KPIs, they look a bit dark, so I'll see what I can do for that. So I want them to stand out, but I don't want them to be the first thing that you see. So that is like a visual problem for me, and that is how I'm solving it, by creating a background border for it. And the average is something that I want to highlight. So I've written wait time of 9.6 minutes, but wait time for what? So it's an average wait time for the period that you've selected at the very top, and that is why the average is grayed out and highlighted, but the rest of it is very neutral with a white backdrop, so that it appears like a KPI only. And you can see that I have also 67,323, the fair amount. I have replaced the INR with the rupee logo symbol, and reduced the words that I was using in this KPIs, because that was also taking space. And these little things matter, because number of trips is same as trips, and 3,000 kilometers distance traveled. And if I remove the word distance, it still means that I've traveled that distance. It could not mean anything else. And similarly for the third one, if I say fair, that means that we are talking about money. I've given the title, a proper title, and an introductory, how a end user will actually feel. This is how a introductory comment should be. So it says welcome Saurabh, because I've clicked on it, and it tells me that this is a summary of my trips. And also it gives a very important point that I can click anywhere, and the rest of the dashboard will filter out automatically based on what I've clicked, because the first table is very interactive, and I want them to focus on a particular year. For instance, 2019 has a sudden rise, right? So I want them to click on that and drill down further, that what happened in 2019. Or in 2020 there was a sudden drop, so what happened there? Why did it drop? Or I mean, we all know why it dropped, because of COVID, but like how much it dropped, and all those things. So that is how like visual filters work, and that is how I've used them here. Also I've changed the sorting of the table. 2015 was at the very top, and 2022 was at the very bottom. I've changed it because right after you see the aggregate KPIs, I want the first thing to be the latest year, 2022, and so on, because 2015 would be the least interesting one. That is how I'm assuming. And you would want the recent like 3 years at the top, so that it's very easy to navigate. You don't have to move your eyes much. Things are right in front of you. I'm again playing with a bit of spacing over here, because what I want is that once the first screen opens up and whatever the user sees, it also gives them a peek of what is on the next screen, or there is something on the next screen, because there is no page 1, page 2 over here, right? They have to scroll down, and it should be also intuitive that as soon as the app opens, they know that there is something at the bottom that they can scroll and see. So what I'm trying to do is increase the size of the bottom visualizations a little bit, so that they get a peek of something. So the product you used title at the bottom after the secondary KPIs will just give them something that this isn't the complete view that you are seeing, and there is something at the bottom. If you just scroll down, you can see what products you used, and once you start scrolling, it will become intuitive that there are other things as well. And yep, I have given titles to all the visualizations that there are. So states you visited, and there is a drop down to select multiple states. And here you can see the filter functionality working perfectly. So you can click on various filters of year, and also separately on the product type or the what product you used, and the routes will change. The one thing that I have excluded intentionally, and maybe you can use it in your project after changing data a bit, is that when you click on route, it doesn't bring route specific information. And the reason for that is those were actual addresses where I visited, and I wanted to not use them in a project, or not show them in actual video. So that is the reason why when you click on a specific route, all the things get filtered, but you don't get that actual view of from where the route started and where it ended. And that is something that you can add on yourself later, just below the map. I think that would be the best position to store that information. And this formatting that I'm doing right now is related to how the lines and borders should appear, based on what other visualizations have borders. So it feels like it is a single visualization, not three different visualizations. So right now it feels like the first three KPIs are a single visualization, the second table is a different table, and the third visualization, average one, is third graph. What I want is to feel like these three are a single visualization, and then we have a break and the second visualization starts, and so on. So the visual break is using the white space that I've given, and wherever I have not given white space, essentially what I want them to feel like is a single thing. And Uber has a bit of a gray backdrop, and so that is what I'm trying to replicate. I have changed the background color to gray, so now I'll update all the sheets accordingly so that the backdrop is gray only. So it is a lot of like color changing effort that I have to do, but again, it goes a long way, since it is a very minor thing, and you might want to skip this step because it takes a lot of time to go into each individual sheet, individual formatting, and change it. But once you're done with that, the final product would look drastically different, and it will go overall with the theme. So you can see in the screenshot the background was gray, and as soon as I change the background of my dashboard to gray, it already feels like that it fits into that application. So that is a very important thing for me. The reason why I have used a green navigation button over there instead of a normal simple gray one or white one is because I want it to get highlighted automatically on the entire screen, because that button is something unusual and you don't usually see in your normal Uber app. So I wanted to create that distinction over there. So I'm just checking the final filters, whether they are working properly or not. I'm looking at how the final spacing is and all those things. Playing with the size, I've reduced the size of the logo because it feels like on a computer screen those logos appear good, but on a phone those logos would look very large. So that is why I've reduced it. Again, changing the color of the pie chart, the exterior and the internal circle as well, so that it looks complete, and saving the file, and yeah, I'm done. So this is the final demo that I actually posted on my LinkedIn, where you can follow me.